didn't see you there. I was so busy editing a video, writing a script, designing a graphic, taking a photo, writing a book, and conquering the world. Welcome back, you talented Caribbean creative. Are you getting that project done? Or are you scrolling endlessly through YouTube? The last one? Yeah, me too. Well, since you're here, you might as well subscribe. But only if you're a cool kid. Because only cool kids subscribe to this channel. I am Nix Francois, author, playwright, and director from the lovely, beautiful Twin Island nation of Trinidad and Tobago. And this is my creative cave where I make paper dolls and perform shadow puppet theater for mice. Today we're going to talk about a term that I've recently been researching, and that term is hypercreativity. Yes, hypercreativity. What does it mean to be a hypercreative? Oh, you've never heard that term before? Well, allow me to edutain you. Story time! A few years ago, I thought that I might be a hypercreative. At the point in time, I didn't know such a thing existed. I kind of just came up with that term in my head. Anyway, at the time, I didn't do any research on the term, and I kind of just kept that crazy old thought to myself. Flash forward to a few months ago, you know, when I quit my job to become a full-time artist, that term hypercreativity popped up into my head. I started to feel the full brunt of my creative work. I had way too many ideas, and I wanted to do all of them at the same time, which is impossible. Naturally, when I stopped teaching full-time, I thought that the skies would be the limit and I could finally do everything I always wanted to do. Boy, was I wrong. Wrong like a biscuit. When I finally searched the term hypercreative in the almighty Google to see if anyone was experiencing the same thing I was really happy to find out that I was not alone. So let's define hypercreative. One of the first articles I read about this concept was What is a Hypercreative and How Do You Know If You Are One by Mike Roy from the website artistsmith.com. It's a really good article and I recommend that you check it out for yourself, so I'll leave the link in the description. In that article, Mike defines hypercreative as a person or a state of being that possesses a higher than normal degree of creativity. Being a hypercreative means that your brain is always coming up with new ideas. You see your mother playing with her boy at the park, now you have a new idea for a play. You're cracking an egg, new idea for a book. Washing your dog, musical. You're trying to get some well-deserved rest at a reasonable hour, but your brain will not shut up. Usually, hypercreative people like myself are passionate about various projects at the same time. We often enter what I like to call work mode, where we isolate ourselves from everyone and everybody while trying to focus on finishing one particular project. And while that might seem like a good thing, hypercreative people have one really big problem. We get all excited about one project, and then we start that project, and then we get excited about another project, and then we start that project and abandon the previous one, and so on and so on and so on. So we have a bunch of really good ideas that never reach their full potential. Listen to me. If you're a hypercreative person, sound off in the comments because I can't be the only one experiencing this. Luckily for you, I've found some really good tips that have helped me over the years to get my ideas done. Number 1, write all of your ideas down. My predominant art form is writing. I have a million story ideas and I come up with 2 or 3 of them every day. These characters will not leave me alone. So what I've done throughout the years is write as many story ideas as I can down on one document. Every time I get a new story idea, I write them down on this one document. So when I'm done with one writing project, I can easily go back and find the other ideas that I've had. Number 2, learn your limits. This takes a little bit of trial and error, but one of the most important things that you can do as a person with a million ideas is to know your limits. For me, I know that I can only work on one narrative script at a time. Whether it be a stage play or a screenplay or a novel, I know that I can only have one set of characters in my brain at one time. Gets really crowded in there. And number 3, my last point, is to set realistic goals. Now, it's super important to set goals in any aspect of your life, but those goals must be realistic. I'm not saying not to push yourself. You better push yourself, you punk. But what I'm saying is to give yourself a reasonable time to achieve these goals. And even if you don't achieve them by the time you set out to do so, learn to give yourself a break. And now for a poem. A letter to an unfinished poem. Dear unfinished poem. I think that's all I wanted to say in this video, so I guess until next time, bye. Luckily for you, what is that? All right, Nix, there's nothing on your lip.